Hi everyone, I'm Dawn. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for visiting with me today. So in today's video, we are going to talk some more about the Madeline Soto case. Now, for those who are not familiar with Madeline Soto, she is a 13-year-old girl who went missing on February 26th after her mom went to pick her up from school and she wasn't there, and then she had found out she wasn't in school all day. They reported her missing, and a couple days later, the mom's boyfriend was arrested for having explicit images on his phone. And then a couple days after that, the young girl's body was found. And that is a very summarized version of it. If you're here, if you've been on my channel regularly, you know all about her. Or if you've paid any attention to news, you probably know all about her. So I wanted to talk about, first of all, I wanted to talk about Jen Soto and, you know, what I think, how I feel, all of that. Because there still seems to be a misunderstanding. There are people that think that I think that she's blameless in all of this. I never said that. I think that she, as the custodial parent, should, you know, it was completely responsible for protecting her child and failed to do so. And I think she's completely responsible for what happened to her, and it, at the very least, should be arrested for neglect. And I looked it up. I looked up neglect laws in Florida specifically. I do live in Florida, so I checked Online Sunshine and everything, but now it looks like I closed the window. I just need to open it back up. So just look up child neglect in Florida. Caregiver's failure or omission to provide a child with the care, supervision, and services necessary to maintain the child's physical and mental health. That is the short definition of it. And it is a form of CA. And it is punishable. And, well, bear with me, I'm sorry. It's a third-degree felony that can result in up to 5 years in prison, 5 years of probation, and a $5,000 fine if there is no great bodily harm, permanent disability, or permanent disfigurement. If great bodily harm does occur, the charge is a second-degree felony that can result in up to 15 years in prison or 15 years of probation and a $10,000 fine, and may also result in the loss of parental rights. Well, that doesn't really matter with Madeline because she's no longer with us. But if what happened to Madeline wasn't great bodily harm, I don't know what is. But she, but I absolutely think she is responsible for what happened to Madeline. No, she didn't do the evil things to Madeline that Stephen Stearns did, and he deserves every bit of punishment that is coming his way and more. But even if she wasn't criminally involved, like involved in the activities that Stephen Stearns was involved in, even if she wasn't involved in that, which I don't believe she was. I believe that she was willfully ignorant and is guilty of severe neglect causing severe bodily harm. I know there are people out there that just want to believe that she was in on the CA, the CSA, and the battery and everything on her. I don't believe that's true. It could be, and you know, and so anyway, what I've said was, I don't believe she's going to ever be arrested for any involvement in Madeline's unaliving, even though I do think she is responsible as a parent. It was her responsibility to keep that child safe, and she failed to do so for several years. And I do think she's responsible. What I've been saying is I don't think she's going to be arrested and charged. And I've said I think she should be. And I would be happy if she, well, I don't want to say happy because I'm not happy this happened to a child, but I wouldn't be disappointed if she got arrested. Let's say it that way. I just don't think she's going to be. And I don't know where the disconnect is. I don't know why people think I'm defending her in that. I'm not defending her. She's guilty of being emotionally absent, definitely. And she's completely responsible for what happened to Madeline. I mean, Stefan did it. But there are people who have left comments saying she's more responsible than Stefan Stearns. No, don't put that on her. Don't put that on her. She's responsible. But don't say she's more responsible than the perpetrator, because that is giving him a pass. You're giving him a pass by saying that. Don't do that. Yeah, she's responsible, but let's not give him a pass at all, okay? She's not more responsible than him, because if it wasn't Madeline, it was going to be somebody else's child. I guarantee it. But yeah, I don't think she's going to be arrested. I just don't think she's going to be arrested. I've said that a million times. I'm not saying she's not guilty. I'm not saying I don't think she should be arrested. I'm saying I don't think she's going to be arrested. I don't believe that's going to happen. And I won't be disappointed if she is. Okay? All right. But anyway, let's move on. I wanted to talk about the death penalty in Florida as it pertains to capital sex battery on a child under 12. So last October 2023, Governor DeSantis signed legislation that would make that a death penalty situation, a death penalty crime. Though I agree with that it should be a death penalty crime, it's never gonna get past the Supreme Court. There's gonna be back and forth battles. It's just never gonna work out. And the first case that Florida tried that was going to be a death penalty case because of battery on a child, he ended up not getting the death penalty, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But I want to say, Stefan Stearns, he's been charged, the 60 plus charges for the CSA, but he also has been charged with first degree unaliving of Madeline. So that kitty. So with that first degree unaliving, I do think, and I'm sorry I have to say that word, I'm not minimizing what it is. I can't say the M word, but here, let's take a break and look at this for a minute. I'm sorry. Okay, but I'm not minimizing the M word. I'm just, YouTube doesn't like me to say it. But what I was going to say is, I believe that the state of Florida will definitely seek the death penalty for her unaliving. I do think that. But as far as the battery on a child under 12, which she was charged with, I believe 6 counts of that, I don't think that they would be able to get the death penalty on that because of when legislation was signed and because it's just not going to get past the Supreme Court. But that's neither here nor there, because he's going to get it more than likely for her unaliving. But let's just talk about the death penalty for child SA. So it was the death penalty for child SA that does not result in death. So this is post-Kennedy legislation, meaning that there was, in 2008, the Supreme Court agreed to hear the appeal of a man in Louisiana who had been sentenced to death for the R word of a child who did not die. Kennedy was convicted and sentenced to death in 2004 for the R word of his 8-year-old stepdaughter. Mr. Kennedy challenged his sentence as a violation of the 8th Amendment based on the rarity of a death sentence for a non-homicide crime. The court had last considered a related issue in 1977, blah, blah, blah. And this is all regarding that particular case and how it was ruled that it was unconstitutional under the 8th and 14th Amendment to sentence him to death. Okay, so post-Kennedy legislation in Florida. In April 2023, the Florida legislature passed a bill allowing the death penalty for battery of a child under the age of 12 after the urging of Governor Ron DeSantis in January 2023. At a news conference, Governor DeSantis criticized the Supreme Court's decision in Kennedy, telling reporters he believes that the precedent was wrong. We do not believe the Supreme Court in its current iteration would uphold it. And so we are going to be exploring ways to facilitate some capitals trials if you have the worst of the worst. In May 2023, Governor DeSantis signed legislation that expands death penalty eligibility to those convicted of crimes against children. According to language in the bill, lawmakers echoed Governor DeSantis' belief that the court's ruling in Kennedy was wrongly decided and that such cases are an egregious infringement of the state's power to punish the most heinous crimes. The bill's sponsor and former prosecutor, Senator Jonathan Martin, told his colleague that the most serious crime, like battery on a child, needs the most serious punishment and the most serious penalty and the most serious deterrent. Governor DeSantis believes the U.S. Supreme Court will uphold Florida's new child battery law. This bill sets up a procedure to be able to challenge the precedent and to be able to say that in Florida, we think that the worst of the worst crimes deserve the worst of the worst punishment, said Governor DeSantis. The legislation went into effect on October 1st, 2023, and allows the state of Florida to seek a death sentence when an adult is convicted of battery of a child under the age of 12. On December 14th, 2023, Lake County, Florida prosecutors announced they would seek the first death sentence for a man accused of committing battery of a minor under the age of 12. A statement from the Office of State Attorney William Gladson said the decision reflects the severity of the crime and its impact on the community. In February 2024, the defendant pled guilty and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. So that defendant's name was Joseph Andrew Giampa. And he did end up getting sentenced to life for pleading guilty. But because he pled out, I don't know that they would have sought the death penalty on that one because he pled out. So we don't know how that would have played out if he went ahead and went to jury trial. So, with that being said, let's pretend Stephen Stearns hasn't been charged with Madeline's murder. Could he get the death penalty for the other crimes? They could seek it, and right now we don't have another case to kind of measure the result against. So they could seek it, but they may, his attorney, depending on how good he is, may be able to get it reduced, get a sentence reduced, because they would argue that you can't seek the death penalty on a case where no life was lost. But that's Florida's point, is that the life doesn't necessarily have to be lost for a life to be ruined because the act or the crime was so heinous. So they can seek the death penalty for Stephen Stearns on those sex crimes, but they can't, but they may not get it for that. Now, for the unaliving of Madeline, they can definitely get it. And I believe, now they haven't said anything yet, they haven't said if they're going to seek the death penalty for the unalivened charges, but I think they will. I think they will. Florida likes the death penalty, and I've never seen a case more worthy of it, personally. But anyway, I just, I know this was kind of maybe a little jumbled up bit of a video, but I just wanted to read information about the legislation, try to clarify my opinion more on Jen, and just talk about that. But honestly, it's neither here nor there, because yeah, it's going to be 2 separate trials. One is in July and one is in August, but we know it never happens that fast. So they may be put off longer and longer. I'm going to make every effort to attend the trials, but we're going to have to keep an eye on when they are, because they may keep pushing them out further and out further. There's no way, I can't think of any kind of defense his attorneys could come up with for him for what was found on his phone and everything. Maybe they're good enough to get him out of the the unalivened charges, but I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, Casey Anthony got away with it, and we all know we all know she unalived that little girl, and it's just I keep going back to the Casey Anthony case and thinking, God, can he get away with this? Can he get away with this? And that's it. We are left with a lot of questions. Like, is there any way they can get him out of the murder charges? And I said it again. But what's the point? And he's gonna do life in prison no matter what. So I don't know. If he's gonna do life in prison and they would seek the death penalty for the other charge, would his attorney then convince him to plead out so not to get the death penalty? You know what I mean? Like that other, like Giampa did. He, let's see, what did he do? It was a pretty heinous crime against a child. So just Joseph Andrew Giampa, 36, through his defense attorney, conveyed an offer to serve the rest of his natural life in prison. At the request of the victim's family and with the interest of the child victim in mind, the 5th Judicial Circuit State Attorney's Office agreed to this resolution. Under this agreement, Giampa will spend the remainder of his life without the possibility of parole. Resolution in less than 100 days is proof that Florida's capital punishment statute for battery of children is effective. By passing this law, the Florida legislature and the governor have sent a message that Florida has zero tolerance for those who prey upon our most vulnerable, and that the punishment will be certain, swift, and severe. Last year, investigators found a video on Giampa's laptop of a female juvenile victim being recorded by an adult man, later identified as Giampa, holding the camera and talking to her. Over the course of the video, Giampa gave the juvenile victim instructions. At one point, he exposed himself and sat in a chair facing the juvenile. The juvenile victim began performing oral on Giampa during this time. Giampa told her that he knew she probably did not like it, although he said he liked it more specifically because she did not enjoy it. What? Oh, he liked it because she didn't like it. Okay. A short time later, Giampa got behind her. And then he was indicted by the grand jury in December 2023 for 6 counts upon a person under 12 years of age and 3 counts of promoting that type of performance by a child. It doesn't say who the child was to him. Probably a child of a girlfriend or something. But anyway, was a child under 12 because that's the only way they can get the death penalty. So, okay, just had to read more on him and what exactly he did. So he pled out, and maybe that's the goal with seeking the death penalty, is that hopefully they'll plead out. But I don't know. We'll just see. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. He's a horrible human being. I don't see him getting away with it, but you know, a lot of us didn't see Casey Anthony getting away with what she did. So we'll just have to wait and see. The state of Florida can be crazy sometimes. So we'll keep an eye on it. But anyway, that's it. I just wanted to talk about that for a few minutes. Just very casual. I'm gonna go, but thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to everyone later. Bye.